Hello, it's 5 p.m. in Ottawa, Canada, and 10 p.m. here in Accra, 11 p.m. in Brussels, Belgium, and it's 6 a.m. in Beijing, China. This is Stephen Enti, and you're welcome to NEWSAT10. We're live from the News Hub at Adisawe, Kanda, in Accra. Let's start with a look at the major news highlights of the day. Government has laid a new bill before Parliament to amend the Public Holidays Act to include January 7 and August 4. The new bill seeks to make January 7 Constitution Day and August 4 Founders Day. And the National Coordinator for the Ghana School Feeding Program, Dr. Kwame Edu-Nsia, has been asked to step aside over allegations of engaging in fraudulent deals in the running of the program. This follows investigations by the National Security. A letter cited by TV3 addressed and signed by Gender, Children and Social Protection Minister Cynthia Morrison, dated December 13, 2018, accused Dr. Edu-Nsia of inflating figures of schools under the program. Also tonight, the Electoral Commission has revealed that it will use yellow and brown as the colors on the ballot papers on the December 27 referendum in parts of the country for the creation of new regions. Eligible voters within a proposed region who intend to approve the creation of the new regions are required to thumbprint beside the color yellow on the corresponding thumbprint space on each ballot paper. Those who disapprove of the creation of the region are to thumbprint at the thumbprint space beside the color brown. On international front, the United States plans to counter the rapidly expanding economic and political influence of China and Russia in Africa. According to U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton, China and Russia have been using corrupt business practices with little regard for the rule of law. In October, Trump signed legislation overhauling the way the federal government lends money to foreign development, creating a $60 billion agency intended to largely respond to China's growing influence. Those are our major news highlights. Remember, we're streaming live on Facebook and on 3news.com. You can also hear me on 3FM 92.7. Let's start with our very first story tonight. The government has laid a new bill before Parliament to amend the Public Holidays Act to include January 7 and August 4. The new bill seeks to make January 7 Constitution Day and August 4 Founders Day.
The new holidays are January 7 to be known as Constitution Day and August 4 for Founders Day. September 21, the birthday of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, which was marked as Founders Day, would now be called Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Day. The paper to amend the Public Holiday Act was laid by the Interior Minister Ambrose Derry. In 2017, President Akufo-Addo proposed that August 4 be observed as Founders Day in memory of the successive generations of Ghanaians who contributed to the liberation of the country from colonial rule, and September 21 set aside as a memorial day for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana's first president, who was instrumental in the fight for the 6th March independence.
Right, pretty shortly we'll be getting onto the telephone lines to speak with Professor Nana Esrofi Kondia, who is a political historian. But right now we do have Call Kweja Emisa Abraham, who is a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, joining us via Skype. Good evening, sir, and thank you extremely for your time. Are you surprised by the move to lay in Parliament, by the Interior Minister to make changes to the public holidays, and especially citing August 4 as Founders Day and September 21, which originally was Founders Day, to be changed to Nkrumah Day?
Thank you very much, Steve, for having me. I am not surprised at all. Some of these changes were indeed expected, especially when the issue of founder and founders came when former President Mills was the president then. So it's really something that was expected, and the idea being pushed by the current government then was see to it that everybody who they think contributed to the independence of Ghana will also be recognized as such. And so, yes, for August 4th, it is something that we always know that it will be observed someday. With reference to January 7th, I got that impression at the beginning of the year in 2018, this year, when the Speaker of Parliament, Professor Kwe, wrote an article in the Daily Graphic trying to say that July 1st as a Republic holiday was redundant, and so we should move July 1st to January 7th. And he was looking at the fact that July 1st was a Republic Day for the first Republic, and so whatever that we celebrate on July 1st is actually for the first Republic, which I think it was terribly erroneous.
And there are political historians who have argued that this is an attempt to alter our political history, and especially the president trying to insert his father into the political history of Ghana, when really he could have done without that. Many see this as a little bit of pettiness. Do you agree?
Not really. Not really, because if I look at where the date, was published, that is August 4th, it is anchored on the Aborigines Rights and Protection Society's, activities, and so it is not something that is centered around the Big Six per se. But I see that it is broader, entailing all other people who contributed to the fight for independence. Just that the argument has been on at what point did the strive for self-determination and self-actualization start. For this government, it started with the Aborigines Rights and Protection Society's activities. For others, mainly the opposition, it started with the fight for independence. That is when
Right. Called Kweja Emisa. Arthur is a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. We're having technical challenges reconnecting. We'll try and reconnect with Skype and see whether you can get through. Ms. Emisa, Abraham, sorry, I think that our line got strained a little bit. So you were saying that you are not surprised and that this is not an attempt by anyone, especially the executive and the president, seeking to alter history and insert his father into it unduly?
Not at all. Not at all. I think that the date that has been fixed actually shows that for them it is not about the Big Six, but it is also about all the others who took part, right from the Aborigines Rights and Protection Society's activities. And like I said, for the current government, self-determination started from there. For others, especially the NDC and other Nkrumahs, it started from when Nkrumah actually started independence now. And so it is more of a historical interpretation. For me, I don't think that founders should be a problem for this country at all. If we decide to recognize all others who played a role, that is fine. If we decide to recognize one person who was the leader, who was actually the immediate catalyst for us to achieve independence, that is also fine. And I think that it was just concessionary for the government to still observe 21st September as Kwame Nkrumah's Memorial Day. Just that the question will still come: Kwame Nkrumah's Memorial Day as what? Kwame Nkrumah as what? Are we celebrating him just as the first president or as someone who actually led the independence movement?
Right. So with all these arguments, would you say that these changes are relevant, especially as we have quite a lot of issues on our hand? I mean, we have filth to deal with, we have the health system to fix, we have the educational structure to sort out, and then suddenly from nowhere before Christmas, we are getting a bill laid in Parliament to alter holidays and make changes to the numbers we have. Is this timely and relevant?
Well, it is significant, but does it add more significance to what already existed? No. Um, we have, like you said, we have other priorities, but these are also some of the priorities of the government in power. So yes, every holiday has its own significance, it has its own relevance, but I don't see these changes as having, an additional relevance to what was already pre-existing. I think that
Right.
it is something that will have no bearing on the developmental drive of the country for
Right,
now.
Mr. Abraham, we're grateful for your time. We apologize that we were unable to get Professor Sophie Kundia, a political historian, to join us on the telephone lines, but certainly we would when we are able to get through to him on subsequent bulletins. This is News at 10. You're hearing me live on 3FM 92.7, and we're streaming on our Facebook page and on 3news.com. We'll be right back. Please stay. Welcome back. Now, there are reports that there is heavy security presence in Yendi in the northern region ahead of the funeral of one of the overlords of Dagbang tomorrow. The security officers from both military and police are dotted all over the historic town with a barrier mounted at the entrance of the town for thorough body searches before anyone is allowed entry. There's also heavy security presence at the two palaces and that of the Kingmaker's Palace. Let's get onto Skype and engage Umano Koting. He's a founder and executive director of the Africa Center for Security and Counterterrorism. Mr. Koting has been following this very keenly. Mr. Koting, thank you extremely for joining.
Which commenced about a week ago is expected.
Funeral of the late preemptive. Is this a preemptive move to avert any eventuality, would you say?
Not at all, Stephen. Before I proceed, good evening and thank you for having me. I think it's a historic moment for Ghanaians, especially people of northern extraction, because it has been 13 years and counting. And I think that where we have gotten to now, there's no turning back. And we don't really anticipate any challenges to this current process. If you look at intelligence we are picking from Yendi, we need to really commend our security agencies, especially the team of military and police personnel that have been deployed there. Intelligence-wise, they have handled it very aptly, and they have dealt with it decisively as well. And one thing I'm so happy about their involvement is their level of professionalism. They have been able to avoid distractions and troublemakers, and they have more or less focused on the essence of their presence there. So I think to that extent, if you look at the week preceding this very historic day, because the Abudus are beginning the funeral this evening, I think it is worth commending our security agencies. And I think DCOP Bonga has proven that when it comes to conflict management, he's on top of his game. If you look at the Agbogburishi issue, he was the commander in Accra then, and he aptly handled it very well. I think the regional minister too have shown some level of impartiality and his deep commitment to peace in Dagbon. And I'm so proud of the regional minister, he being a youth. And I think that he has proven that when the youth are given opportunity, we can actually live to the task.
Mr. Koting, let's look at events before tomorrow's funeral. I know that there have been some uncertainties and a little bit of friction with little sets of disagreements with how things should be done. You would recall when the Committee of Eminent Chiefs presented their report to the president, these disagreements showed up. Now, I want to find out from you whether you do not think that at this stage those disagreements matter. Have we overcome the disagreements, and are we certain that all parties indeed would agree to this roadmap effective tomorrow?
Yes, I want to agree with you. Initially, the leader of the three eminent chiefs, His Eminence Otumfuo, I think the way he presented the report to the president, it was looking so instructional, as if it was a personal thing. But I think after that, we have been able to iron out those frictions. And there have been delegations from the committee and even from national security who have met both sides. I think the challenge now has to do with the Andani family. And the Vona, who is the head of the family, seem not to be cooperating so well with the regent. I think those are the little things diplomatically we should look at and iron it out before it's time or their turn to perform their funeral.
Right. So what are your expectations from tomorrow, especially as somebody who understands the customs and cultures of Dagbon? What are we expecting to see from tomorrow? From what time to what time? What is the sequence of events going to be like from tomorrow through to 28th of December?
I know many invitations have gone out, and like I mentioned, Dagbon is at the heart of northern region. So many of the tribes, I mean the other chiefs from the other tribes that are invited will come and witness this historic moment. They'll be dancing and merrymaking. And it is instructive to know that the Andanis are equally sending a delegation to the Abudu's 10 of the performance of the funeral, which is kind of very instructive. It is quite reconciliatory, and I think that if the Andanis can show the same gesture, we'll be out to making a very historic moment in Dagbon. Right. And hopefully Dagbon will be peaceful and nothing untoward is going to happen. As I said earlier, the security is on top of the issues.
Zakoting, we're grateful for your time. Thank you extremely. Zakoting, Emmanuel Koting is a security analyst. He is founder of, executive director and founder of the Africa Center for Security and Counterterrorism. I'm Stephen NT. You can hear me live on 3FM 92.7. We're also streaming on Facebook and on 3news.com. We'll be right back.